How's everyone doing? Those were some great talks. I'm looking forward to following everybody up. Let's see. What's that? Yeah, I found it. It was a little hidden, but that's okay.
Too many layers of art.
So I'm Jason Stoner. I lead experience and strategy at MetroStar Systems. We're out in Reston. But what I'm going to talk about today is a little different than what others are talking about. It's how do you get started? There's a lot of big problems that we need to solve. But where do we start? How do we get going in the right direction? It's not an easy problem. Everybody struggles with it. When I came into the industry, I came in as a graphic designer. My heroes were Paul Rand, Milton Glaser, and some other people like that from the brand strategy. And for me, if I got a job working at Pentagram with Michael Beirut, that was my dream job. That was like my mecca. That's where I wanted to be. And then the 2000s hit and the technology boom happened. So this is a great place to be. And then Flash came about. Adobe Flash, Macromedia Flash, and it was a designer's dream. You could do whatever you want. For anybody that was in Jared Spool's Beyond the UX Tipping Point conversation earlier, he's talking about the Disney website from 1997. And it was pretty bad, but Flash allowed us to get out of the constraints of HTML and the static graphic images. So I made that transition into the technology world. And with that, I've been able to find a place where I've been able to solve some complex challenges. And these are a couple of the challenges that we've faced. And there isn't anything extra special about them. They're big, they're open-ended. Trying to work on cancer research for NIH is a big challenge. Working on Disney's Magic Band, that's another big challenge. But where do you start once you get that? You have research. So you'll go in and the clients will give you some information to get started. Then you say, okay, here's what we need to know. We need to do more research. We need to learn more. And then you can get into this repetitive cycle of, I need to know more, I need to know more. When do you say, I know enough to get started? And this loop, I see everybody from people right out of school struggle with to experienced people. And it leads to what is kind of a common term nowadays called Impostor Syndrome. And everybody feels it at some point in their career where, who am I to be able to solve this challenge? Why me? What do I have that's a different experience to be able to do it? And the answer to that we bring to the table is to be able to bring those individuals together that can help us answer those questions. It's not about us going around and going back into a corner and saying, I'm the smartest person in the room and I can solve it by myself. It's about, I have a team of people. And those could be designers, those could be developers, those could be anybody that we can grab to give us a different perspective of what that might be. And through that, we can have the right start to it. Because after we have these problem statements that we're dealing with, we need to come back to this. And this is what we face. A blank canvas. Nothing's meant to be there. It's a white sheet of paper. And I guess that's if we're lucky. Sometimes we have some other things we need to work around as part of it. But this white sheet of canvas is where things are decided. That's where we make our first mark. And there's a lot riding on that first mark. That's where the direction is set. And that direction guides in our mind if we're successful or not. Because there's a lot of fear around failure. There's money in what we do. There's talking to the CEO, why did we fail? Well, that mark should have been over here. And I put it here. I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know enough at that time. So to step back from there, with my background as a designer, we did things called gesture drawings. And this was a skill in and of itself that we had to learn. We would go into class and there would be a figure, a model that was there. And our teacher would go through and say, you have 10 seconds to complete a sketch of this figure. And you're like, how can I possibly draw something as detailed as a person in 10 seconds? And then you see what I have there is you realize that you're looking at a couple of things like composition, shape, form. So it's setting you up on the right track for when you do that longer study, you have that idea ready. You know, here's how I want to compose it. Here's what this form looks like. Here's how we make it expressive. Whatever those things are that set you up to be successful for those longer studies. If you just go in and you start to draw a figure and you start at the head and you work your way down, well, that shape is going to be distorted. You might not have enough space on the page for what it is you're drawing because you didn't take in the entirety of the composition. So this allows you to rough in those edges, but it also allows you to fail and learn from that. Well, I don't quite know how to draw this piece of it. And as I mentioned, this was a skill that needed to be done for itself. You might be a great realistic artist, but then to let loose and to be free and to let those ideas flow is a different type of skill with it. And that same idea translates to what we do every day within user experience. We need to take that idea of letting go and see how that cultivates the designs that it is we're building and creating. So UX sketching is nothing new within user experience. There's techniques like Crazy 8s that help that, but I don't find that people are using that enough as a means to build a shared vision, to get rid of those initial ideas. So when we look at the Honeywell Thermostat that Jared Spool was talking about, the H model, the magic band, those weren't the first ideas that people came up with. Those were the 100th idea, the 1000th idea. And you need to work through ideas quickly, otherwise you're never going to get a product that goes to market. So using something like a Crazy 8's technique lets you iterate through those ideas much quicker than if you're just sitting in a room by yourself and drawing what you think is the ultimate solution for whatever it is we're doing. It also allows you to build that shared vision with your team. So you can be a team of one, and you might have other people that you need to bring into it. They might be developers, as I mentioned. They might be the project manager, the QA person, anything to get those ideas generated. So everybody is a designer in this case. Everybody's got valid ideas, but you're also helping to take that idea of going from literacy, fluency, mastery that Jared Spool was talking about, and you're helping to educate that weakest link on your team as to what is good design, what is the value of what we're doing, and why are we solving it this way. Then afterwards, you can do techniques like feature dot voting and help to bring in that idea of going from diverging to converging, but you do that based on this broad range of ideas. You're not settling that this is the one idea we have, this is the 100th or the 200th idea we have, and we've iterated on it. We've shared those ideas and we've built on them, where now we have something that's unique, that's novel, that really solves the user needs that we're looking to solve for. And then we can move that forward. I have a link there for the Google Design Sprint Kit that goes into a lot more detail about how to apply Crazy 8s to what it is you're doing. But it's a great technique that you can leverage to get through that idea of imposter syndrome and to make that first mark, so there's not as much riding on it, it's not as dependent as you might think it is. It's a means to an end where now you say, we know where the gaps are in the research we have. We know that we need to do more testing in this area. We need to figure out something over here, but it's informed. And that's the way that we can iterate through successfully on our projects. So with that, we can take that idea of failing into a more positive of, here's what it is that we're learning through this exercise that it is we're doing. Here's how we're building that mastery across the team. So we're increasing their design abilities as part of that. So hopefully with this, you can take that and make your first mark and feel confident and proud that you're setting that first step in the right direction. Thank you.